Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar on learning with technology. My name is Emily Jones, and I'm a Deputy Director at Learning and Work Institute. For those of you who haven't worked with us before, we're an independent policy and research organisation focused on lifelong learning and better work. And we're really pleased to be delivering this webinar in partnership with Ufi VocTech Trust. I'm joined today by Josh Smith, Head of Public Affairs at UFI, and Josh will be sharing an overview of their work and how VocTech can help to break down barriers to lifelong learning. We're also joined by two learning providers who will talk about how technology is core to their delivery and how they work with adults from disadvantaged or underrepresented groups. So we have Max Sun, who's a volunteer for Code Your Future, and Anne Attridge, Chief Executive at Click to Learn. So we'll be hearing from each of our speakers before moving to a panel discussion. So if you have any questions for the panel, please share these in the Q&A function. We will get through as many of these questions as we can. We'd also love to hear from you on social media. So this week is Lifelong Learning Week, our annual week of activity where we raise the profile of lifelong learning. So if you are on social media, please use the hashtag Lifelong Learning Week. Before we move on to our speakers, I wanted to share some new insights from our Adult Participation in Learning survey. This is an annual survey that's been running for more than 25 years and tells us who's taking part in learning, who's missing out, and how adults are learning. And the results from this year's survey just came out on Monday. The survey uses a broad definition of learning, so it includes all kinds of formal and informal learning, and it's conducted with around 5,000 adults in the UK, so it gives us a really good understanding of what's happening. So this year, the survey found that 52% of adults say they're either currently learning or they have done some learning in the last 3 years. And this is the highest rate of participation we've recorded since we started the survey back in 1996. But despite the high levels of participation, the survey reveals significant disparities between groups of adults. So no matter how policy and practice may have changed over time, some groups continue to miss out. For example, learning seems to decline with age. The older you are, the less likely you are to learn. In fact, our analysis shows that the likelihood of participating in learning decreases by 4% with each additional year of age. People who are closer to the labour market are more likely to learn, with full-time employees being more than twice as likely to learn than people who are economically inactive. People in the highest social grade are 1.5 times more likely to say they're learning than people in the lowest social grade. And people who stayed in full-time education until 19 or above are significantly more likely to learn as an adult than people who left at 16 or younger. The survey also shows a divide between geographical areas, which has actually widened in recent years. So if we look at London, 66% of adults say they're learning compared to 43% in the Southwest. Now, I also wanted to highlight a couple of other trends that are particularly relevant to our discussions today. Firstly, we've seen a shift towards adults learning independently since the pandemic. So although most adults say that they're motivated to learn for work or career reasons, the proportion of adults who say they're learning for leisure or personal interest has more than doubled since the pandemic. The pandemic also accelerated online learning. So if we look back at 2019, we had 47% of adults saying that at least some of their main learning was online, compared to 63% this year. Now, for that last couple of years, we've been working with UFI on the VocTech Challenge, with the aim to deliver a step change in adult participation in learning through technology-enabled learning. And Josh will tell us a bit more about this in a couple of minutes. But to provide context on the use of technology in learning, we've included some questions in our survey. And this shows that almost all adults, so 95% of adult learners, say they've used technology in their learning. Now, this includes a wide range of activities such as online videos, online assessments, and video calls. And when we ask learners about the benefits of using technology, most of these benefits are about what technology enables people to do. For example, learn at home, learn at a convenient time, or at their own pace. Learners also identify ways in which technology enhances their experience, for example, making learning more interesting or engaging. The survey shows that adults are more confident using technology in their daily lives rather than for learning or work. And there are some groups who are less likely to be confident using technology, including older learners, people who left education aged 20 or younger, and people in the lowest social grade. So we see the same sort of groups coming through as before. People who are less likely to be learning are also those who are less likely to say that they're confident using technology. So hopefully that provides some context for the discussions today, why it's so important that we address inequalities in participation in lifelong learning, and also the potential for technology to engage people. So I'm going to hand over to our speakers now. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please post those in the Q&A. So our first speaker is Josh Smith, Head of Public Affairs at Ufi VocTech Trust. Josh, over to you.
Thanks, Emily, ever so much for the introduction, and some really interesting results in this year's adult participation in learning survey. Obviously, on that broader question of participation, a particular interest for us is that those groups of learners who, for whatever reason, are underserved by the existing provision that we see out there. And what we see again is that those learners are also still the least likely to engage in learning. If I can have the first slide up, or the second slide even. So what we believe at UFI is that when people thrive in work, everybody benefits, and that we're a vocationally focused charity. So we believe that when we champion the power of technology in vocational settings, we can improve skills for work and deliver better outcomes for all. Next slide. And we do this by providing grant funding through structured grant calls. We provide investment through venture investment, and we provide advocacy, advocating for change with policymakers and those in the broader sector. And we also support a range of different organisations in all sorts of different ways to improve the development and deployment and adoption of all sorts of different vocational technology across all parts of the UK skills system. Next slide. We have a particular role, we believe, as I've already mentioned, in unlocking the potential for learners who aren't served well by mainstream provision, believing that if we can help ensure everyone is included and no one is left behind, we'll get the growing, productive economy that we all want. Next slide. I think it's useful to just quickly introduce what VocTech is. So VocTech is vocational technology. That's all different kinds of digital tools and technologies that might help somebody gain the skills they need for work. That can be anything from the sort of what we would now consider maybe more basic things like online learning, all the way through to some of those immersive technologies, emerging technologies like immersive learning, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and the rest. Next slide. As Emily's already mentioned, we've currently got a partnership with the Learning and Work Institute as part of our VocTech Challenge programme. This is where we unite all of our different tools to try and tackle a specific challenge. Our current VocTech Challenge, Skills for Economy and Transition, was created with the Learning and Work Institute, initially with an ambition to try and understand what some of the biggest barriers are to get more adults learning. Out of that research, we've developed a whole programme of activity. It's a £3 million multi-year programme developing a range of different solutions. If I have the next slide, um, I'll set out what we're doing. So we've got we've already had the Future of Skills Award, which was an award to try and highlight some of the best ideas out there in vocational learning. We launched an open grant call, and we are, as of today, announcing some of the first funded projects as part of that grant call. We're developing. We've developed a new venture investment fund, and we've also launched four place-based programs across the 4 nations. We're going to be evaluating with learning and work the impact of all of this work, and from it, we're going to be advocating for change. This came out of a set of research findings, next slide, which tried to understand what problems existed in the vocational learning space and how we could overcome them. So we identified investment and funding, fragmented skills system, changing skills needs, different learner barriers, the digital divide, and the value of learning, all as challenges that might face an adult learner or an employer trying to improve their skills and the skills of their workforce. And what we wanted to do is, working closely with our partners, try and develop streams of work that would use the technology that we know can be transformative to address these specific problems. And we set out 3 problem statements to help us on that journey. In the next slide, that is that we need to improve the skills, our skills for an economy in transition. The changing world of work needs a different, more effective, flexible, adaptable skill system that can inspire people to engage in learning throughout their lives. We need a different set of skills themselves. So the needs of the economy are changing, require different set of tools for each of us to thrive in work, and that we need better digital technology to support that economy in transition. That with the range of tools that we've already been using, the changing world of work, we need to adapt those to build more resilient learners, more resilient learning, more adaptable learning, or support more adults into the world of work. And as I mentioned, one of those work streams was the grant fund that has been announced this morning. If I have the next slide, I can give a little bit of an overview of what some of those digital tools are doing to try and address, trying to get more adults learning. So we've offered £1.5 million of grant funding to 6 different organisations across the UK. They're all trying to tackle those systemic barriers. We start with Aposto. They're trying to address challenges in event management. There's big staff shortages in the event management industry. And with support of the Football Safety Association and the UK Crowd Management Association, Aposto are hopefully going to be expanding their existing platform to create a new digital passport where temporary workers can, in the event sector, can store and manage their training credentials. BEST, BEST, Scotland's National Innovation Centre for the Built Environment. They're going to be trying to close the green skills gap in Scotland, again, using an AI-based platform for job and course matching, specifically with a focus on green and net zero. The Institute of Future of Work are working in Cornwall and Grimsby, again, using artificial intelligence to build onto their existing platform a set of resources that will help job seekers identify the skills that they've already got and identify relevant training therein. First Trust, using their existing platform, a VR-based training program to try and allow adults to practice and demonstrate skills in a virtual garage without needing to read or write. Partnering with a range of different organisations, they're going to be trying to get some of those learners often furthest from learning into high-quality careers in the automotive industry. Flash Academy, harnessing advances in large language models to improve their tailored English lessons and assessment that address industry-specific needs. And Click to Learn, here on the panel with us today, will be using their English. Will be using their existing tools to address English language gaps among migrant adults in the UK, creating pathways into employment by providing innovative language learning solutions. And this will work with City and Guilds and Glasgow Life to develop short online courses for learners in Glasgow. We've also, on the next slide, got our new Year 5 Ventures Challenge Fund, which will be aiming to support new early stage companies developing their offering, investments of £250,000, and targeted at 5 key areas for a transitioning economy. I think I should be just about out of time. I'll pass back to Emily.
Thank you very much, Josh, and really great to hear about those organisations receiving grant funding, and that's just been announced today. So really great to hear more about that. I'm going to pass over now to our second speaker, Max Sun, who is a volunteer with Code Your Future.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Emily. Yes, my name is Max. I am a volunteer with Code Your Future. We were incredibly fortunate to receive funding from UFI in 2018, and I can tell you a bit about our journey and what it looked like. If we could please go to our first slide. Thank you. To set the stage a little bit for you, Code Your Future is a grassroots training community dedicated to breaking down barriers that prevent disadvantaged and socially excluded groups from pursuing careers in tech. Next slide, please. Our courses are designed to equip students with the necessary technical and soft skills required to become a well-rounded software developer. Our students primarily made up of asylum seekers, refugees, and people from low-income households, and supporting them in their journey is a fantastic community of volunteers who share their skills and knowledge with the students. On the next slide, I can give you some numbers behind our work. 83% of UK trainees are living below the poverty line. 78% of them are from minority ethnic backgrounds. Our students are primarily adult learners with an average age of about 35. We are proud to say that 70% of our eligible graduates start careers in tech after graduating. To date, over 280 CWF graduates have found great jobs in tech, and the impact that that can have is really significant, both for their own financial prospects, but also for prospects of their families and their communities. If please go to the next slide, I can take you back to 2018. So back in 2018, after 2 years of rapid growth of CYF, we have found ourselves operationally and functionally stretched to our limits. We knew that our community and courses could make a significant positive difference, but our capacity to reach and serve them to our best ability was limited by effectively our operational infrastructure. Our brother block of it. Like a lot of other charities of the past and very much present, we knew that we could do better by our students and our community, but we just did not have the funds available to invest in infrastructure that would allow us to scale our capacity. It is not a problem unique to Code Your Future, and it's not a problem arising from lack of passion or knowledge or experience. It's purely down to funding. And so when we came across UFI, we were thrilled, because here was a donor and a potential partner who truly saw the value in investing in tech infrastructure to advance access to learning. Out of a pretty sizable pool of digital transformation projects that we had in mind, we have applied to develop our own learning and application platform. And on the next slide, I can tell you a bit more about it. So at Code Your Future, students do not require any prior knowledge or experience to start training with us. Whether you've coded before or whether it is your first time using a computer, you're equally welcome to start. It's a fantastic system because it allows people from very different backgrounds to enter training. The problem with it and the challenge with it is that people come from different backgrounds and they have very different starting points, right? And when you're trying to enable effective group learning, you need to establish a shared baseline of knowledge among students before they start on the course proper. What we have done is integrated learning into our application process. In 2018, that process existed, but it existed in a series of email templates that volunteers like myself would send out to individual applicants. That ultimately meant that our capacity to reach and support people was limited by the capacity of 1 or 2 people per region. It was also incredibly fragile because of that dependency. Next slide, please. The platform guides applicants through digital literacy, soft skills, and programming fundamentals to equip them with the knowledge they need to progress to more advanced courses. It has allowed us to scale access to training to our students and our capacity to support them without need to rely on very manual process that we did previously. Students have a much more transparent learning pathway, and we can adjust our learning curriculum as it evolves, keeping us agile. And from the support perspective, a shared action dashboard means we can divide and conquer support requests and review student progress a lot more effectively without the dependency on just 1 or 2 people. Next slide, please. We have worked with UFI for 12 months on the delivery of this platform, and I wanted to share some of our learnings with you. First of all, for us, user testing was key to successful project rollout. Talking to students and volunteers about their challenges really helped us to advance our design philosophy and solution philosophy. We came into it having been practitioners of this process previously, having worked with our students directly as developers. And so we had a lot of institutional knowledge, but hearing them spell out their issues and their challenges was really enormously helpful. And we've discovered issues we didn't know about and solutions we may not have thought of. Secondly, UFI is a great partner with a wealth of experience of managing digital transformation projects. And when you do have problems, I hope you will feel empowered to reach out to their advice. I know for me, at times it was a bit challenging to voice concerns when things weren't going exactly to plan because we didn't want UFI to deem us incompetent, but UFI never did, to their credit. And when we had issues, they were able to connect us with people who knew better and were able to give us advice. And on that point, I would really recommend that you invest in developing your working relationship with your project account managers. Ours was Maureen, and she was a fantastic source of knowledge, encouragement, and kept us accountable to our deliverables, which was great. And last one is quite obvious, I think, for everyone, which is infrastructure investment pays off tenfold. It absolutely can be transformational to the operation of your organization and to the outcomes you provide to your communities. Try to make the most of it. We were invited to a summit with other funding recipients, and it was amazing to see the sheer variety of problems being solved and approaches to solving those problems. And yeah, that would be me for now, but thank you.
Great, thank you, Max. Really brilliant to hear more about Code Your Future, and also the difference that the investment from UFI can make. So really great to hear that. And Code Your Future was actually a winner of our National Festival of Learning Awards earlier this year. So we've got a brilliant video that says a bit more about Code Your Future, and I'm sure that we'll be sharing that on social media. So if you haven't seen that already, then do take a look at that.